Midnight. My lawn shakes. I hit record. The sprinkler head snaps and spits mud like a geyser. A masked face blinks up from the crack. He whispers through the spray. Every second you're not watching, someone dies. My hands shake. I am Karen. I lean closer. Sirens fade in the distance. The mud boils. The mask turns toward my house, toward the HOA president's window. What happens next will shock you. Stay, because at the end, I reveal who helped them and why. The rumbling starts. I am Karen, and I am speaking now. It began as a hum under the dishwasher, low and stubborn, the kind of sound you blame on old pipes and a long day. I pressed my palm to the tile and felt a tremor faint as a cat's purr, wrong as a lie. Outside, the sprinklers ticked the way they always do at midnight because the HOA wrote it that way. I live by rules I didn't write, but I follow them because order keeps the panic small. I stepped onto the porch, and the night air smelled like wet pennies. The lawn quivered, soft and loose, as if something breathed under it. I am Karen, still speaking, and I know the earth should not breathe. A sprinkler head cracked with a brittle pop, and a jet of muddy water shot into the dark. I raised my phone and hit record, more habit than courage, because if you don't film it, they say it didn't happen. The ground sighed again, louder, and the grass slumped into a shallow oval, like a mouth forming a word. Hello, I said, as if holes talked back, as if I deserved an answer. The jet of water choked, gurgled, then something pale flashed inside the mud like a fish's belly. My porch light flickered and steadied. A nervous blink I felt in my gut. I am Karen. The camera is shaking, and I tell myself to breathe like the therapist taught me. From the hole, a hand rose slick and shaking, finger splayed against the night. It was gloved, torn at the knuckle, and the wrist was wrapped with something that looked like hospital tape. The hand pressed to the edge, found purchase, and a head followed, black mask, wet fabric gleaming under the porch light. He didn't climb out. He hovered there, half-born, the tunnel holding him like a throat. Every second you're not watching, someone dies, he said, voice flat, as if giving directions. I took a step back and hit the wind chime with my shoulder. It rang like a warning bell. Coming up, I will tell you what I saw behind his mask when the water washed the fabric thin. He stared past me, not at me, past me to the cul-de-sac where the HOA president's house sits perfect and beige. The rumble deepened, and I felt it in my teeth, a mean buzz that made words hard to hold. I called 911. I lied just to test the shape of control in my mouth. He tilted his head, listening to something below, something that answered him. A metal clank like a tool dropped in a throat. I am Karen, still here, and I will not look away, not now, not when the ground is telling me a story. From the hole came a smell like dirt and bleach and a bus station bathroom. The masked face turned back to me, and I saw, through the wet cling of fabric, a bruise shaped like a key. Coming up, I will show you the first sign. This wasn't random. The tag he wore that matched an HOA violation code. He opened his mouth to speak again, but the lawn to his left caved, sudden and greedy, and dragged him sideways with a grunt. I lunged without thinking, grabbed at his wrist, and felt the tape bite my palm. Then the earth swallowed our grip, and he vanished. Cliffhanger, I looked down into the hole and saw a light moving toward my foundation, and in that light, a shadow I recognized, his height, his walk, my HOA president descending. I am Karen, and I am still speaking. The hole yawned wider, a wet mouth swallowing the edge of my lawn furniture, creaking metal legs pulled into the dark. I dropped to my knees, phone still recording, and the flashlight beam carved a narrow throat of mud and brick. It wasn't just dirt. It was lined with wood beams, careful, measured, built by hands that knew how to hide. The light caught a shimmer. Rail tracks, toy-sized but real, nailed into the floor of the tunnel like a secret subway. My breath fogged the phone lens, and I wiped it with my sleeve, heart slamming. The camera steadied, and I whispered my own name into the mic. "This is Karen. I am still here. I am still watching." Inside, the masked man's voice echoed, further away now, like he was crawling fast. And behind his voice came another, calm, clipped, the HOA president's tone, the one he uses when he finds you for a trash can left out. "Coming up, I will tell you what I overheard that proves this was never just a prison break." The air pushed out of the tunnel smelled of sweat and lime, sour and sharp, and it burned my throat. I leaned lower, and the earth growled under me, as if warning me off, as if the lawn itself had a temper. A shape moved below. 3 more figures, hunched, dragging bags the size of coffins through the tunnel. One of the bags split and spilled chains, rattling like laughter. "I am Karen," and my voice cracked when I whispered, "What are you doing under my house?" No one answered, but the president's hand shot up, palm flat, like a teacher silencing a class. And then he spoke, not to me, but to them, "Keep digging, we're ahead of schedule." The phrase chilled me more than the night air, because schedule meant plan, and plan meant purpose. "Coming up, I will show you the mark I saw on one of the inmates' arms, the mark that tied it all back to our HOA bylaws." My neighbor's dog barked from across the street, then yelped and went silent, cut off like a switch. The tunnel groaned again, and the boards shifted, showering me in dirt that tasted of rust. I coughed, and the light in my hand caught the glint of a badge, our HOA logo pinned to the president's shirt even underground. "Karen," he said then, voice flat, patient, "go back inside. This doesn't concern you." But I couldn't move, not when the bags shifted, and I saw faces pressed against the mesh, inmates bound, not free. They weren't escaping. They were being moved, herded like cargo through my yard. "I am Karen," still speaking, and I swear one of them mouthed the word help. The masked man from before reappeared, closer now, crawling up toward me with urgency in his eyes. He pulled his mask down just enough for me to see his lips split, his teeth bloodied, and he hissed, "Don't trust him." Cliffhanger. The president slammed his boot on the rail track, sparks flying, and the whole tunnel lit for a second, enough for me to see a map carved into the dirt wall, lines leading from my lawn to every house on the block. The neighbors awake. I am Karen, and I am still speaking. The ground shook again, and this time porch lights blinked on up and down the street. Doors opened, slippers scuffed, and neighbors stumbled into the night like moths. I waved frantically, phone in hand, shouting, "There's a tunnel! They're under us!" But my voice cracked, thin against the hum rising from the dirt. Mrs. Peterson squinted over her robe, clutching her little dog that whimpered and twisted in her arms. She asked what I was doing digging at midnight, as if I had built this chaos myself. I pointed, but the tunnel mouth had collapsed halfway, hiding the tracks, hiding the faces. The president emerged then, dust on his shoulders, calm as a preacher, holding a clipboard like a shield. "Coming up, I will show you the first time my neighbors turned on me instead of him." He spoke with that HOA certainty, slow and sure, false alarm, just irrigation work. And they nodded because they wanted it to be simple, because fear is heavy to carry. I shouted again. I saw them. They're moving people, but the dirt just gaped silently, as if mocking me. Mr. Ramirez muttered that I always overreact, that I had once called the cops over raccoons. Their eyes slid from me to him, and in their silence, I felt myself shrinking. I am Karen, and I am still speaking, but no one hears me. The president smiled thin, turned to the crowd, and said, She's filming another one of her stories. My hands shook, and the video stuttered, light swinging wild, catching something behind him. A bag dragged, half buried in the soil, zipper torn, a tattooed wrist dangling out. Coming up, I will reveal the symbol inked there, the same symbol carved into our HOA meeting table. But the president kicked dirt over it, quick, casual, and the neighbors saw only mud. He laughed, and the crowd laughed with him, brittle and uncertain. The ground trembled harder, and Mrs. Peterson's dog wailed, a thin knife of sound. And then silence. No crickets, no sprinklers, just a stillness too deep to breathe. I whispered again, "This is Karen. I am still here. I am still watching." Then a new sound rose from the tunnel, chanting, low and rhythmic, not English, not kind. The neighbors froze, their smiles draining, eyes darting to the dirt. One by one, their porch lights flickered out, leaving us in half-dark. The president straightened, clipboard pressed to his chest, and said coldly, "Back inside, all of you, now." Cliffhanger. As they shuffled away, confused and afraid, I saw Mrs. Peterson's dog slip from her arms and dart straight into the tunnel's mouth, where the chanting stopped dead. The truth buried underneath. I am Karen, and I am still speaking. The dog's whimper cut off like a thread snapped, and silence pressed heavy on the cul-de-sac. I dropped lower to the hole, phone trembling in my hand, recording everything because I had no choice now. The chanting began again, louder, filling my bones with its rhythm, like a heartbeat not mine. I called the dog's name, voice breaking, but only the echo returned, stretched and wrong. The president didn't flinch. He stared down at the hole with something like pride. "Stop," I whispered, though my voice carried nothing against that sound. Coming up, I will tell you what I saw in the dirt, proof that this was never about a prison break. The earth shifted, peeling away in sheets, revealing brickwork, arches, an old tunnel not new at all. Symbols carved deep into the walls glistened wet in my flashlight, circles inside circles, like the HOA logo distorted. I am Karen, still here, still watching, and I swear the carvings moved when I blinked. The masked man crawled back into view, face torn, eyes burning with warning. He thrust something into my hand, a scrap of paper, damp, smudged ink. I wiped it against my shirt and read, HOA Project 47, Relocation. My stomach turned. Relocation was what they said when they tore down Mrs. Johnson's shed, what they said when they moved fences without asking. But this was no fence. These were people. The president's voice cut through. "Karen, give that back." He stepped closer, boots sinking into the soft lawn, eyes cold, clipboard forgotten. I clutched the paper tighter, shaking my head. Coming up, I will show you what happened when I refused him, when I chose to fight. The chanting surged, the dirt collapsed further, and the tunnel mouth gaped wider, wide enough for me to see cages stacked below, faces pressed against bars, hollow-eyed, mouths moving in silent screams. Not inmates, neighbors, people missing for months, people the HOA said had moved. My breath stopped, my hands went numb, but I kept filming because this was the only weapon I had. I am Karen, and I am still speaking, and this is real. The president lunged, grabbing for my wrist, but the masked man shoved me back, his voice hoarse. "Run!" The paper slipped from my fingers, fluttering into the tunnel, snatched by the chanting wind. For a moment, I thought I could still back away, still close the door, still pretend. But then the earth roared, the cages shook, and the tunnel vomited up a rush of chained hands reaching for me. Cliffhanger. The masked man was dragged, screaming into the dark, and just before he vanished, he shouted one last word that burned into me, HOA. Outro. I am Karen, and I am still speaking, but my voice feels small now, swallowed by earth and silence. The neighbors have shut their doors, their curtains drawn, their lights gone. They chose not to see, and in that choice, I think they vanished too. The tunnel is still open behind me, breathing like an animal, patient. I can hear chains shifting as if the underground remembers me. I hold my phone in my hand. The screen cracked, the red dot still blinking. Proof or nothing depends who will ever watch it. I think about truth, how it tastes like rust and dirt and fear. I think about lies, how easily they slide from a president's tongue. Coming up, I said before, but there is no coming up anymore, only going down. The paper, Project 47, gone now, eaten by mud like all evidence is. Still, the word lives in me, carved into my ribs, a brand no one can see. I am Karen, and I am still speaking, though the night doesn't answer. What is worse, to be silenced or to speak where no one listens? The ground trembles again, softer now, like a warning wrapped as comfort. I know they are still digging, and maybe they always will. I wonder if this neighborhood was ever mine, or if I was only ever a tenant of their secret. Maybe every house sits on its own tunnel, each family balanced above a lie. The thought chills me more than the cold air on my skin. Silence again, heavy, final. I step closer to the tunnel edge, just one more look, and there, something moves, not a hand this time, not chains. It is a mirror buried in dirt, and in its surface, I see my own face, already covered in soil. The glass cracks spiderweb thin, and my reflection smiles without me. I drop the phone. The screen goes dark. I am Karen, and this is the last time you will hear me, because the earth has opened its mouth. And this time, it is not letting go.